What's going on, YouTube? So we first spent time with the Rivian R1S a couple years ago, and we were certainly impressed. And now we've had the chance to live with the R1S for a full week in its new second generation model with its tri-motor 850 horsepower powertrain and more refinement than ever before. So, is this an 850 horsepower Range Rover killer? Well, let's go ahead and find out. Now, like always, let's get things started under the hood for our spec dump. As you can tell, this is a full electric product. You're not going to find an engine under the hood, but you do still have several different configurations you can pick between. We have the brand new tri-motor all-wheel drive system, and that's making 850 horsepower. That's going to be paired to the max battery pack size, which is going to also get you 371 miles of range.
Now, the base price for the Rivian R1S is $75,000, and if you're looking to buy one or any new vehicle, we would encourage you to go to carconfections.com/newcarquotes to get the best price. This, of course, is a 7-day review after all, so we will be talking about our impressions after the week. We'll also be getting things like our sound level reading, and at the end discussing if we like it better, the same, or worse after living with it.
But let's go ahead and close up the hood because we need to take a look at the exterior design as well as the beautiful interior. Now, for this second generation of the R1S, they've really made big changes underneath of the model, but they didn't change a lot in terms of the overall design. That's not to say they changed nothing. With this new tri-motor model, we do have a blackout appearance package, so it's just going to give you some darkened elements around the exterior to give it a little bit more of an aggressive look. Now, in terms of what you have on board, there's also some important changes to the headlights, for example. So you still have that signature light bar that runs all the way across the front and that signature Rivian shape that is very distinct at night. But what's different is that we now have something called adaptive drive beam headlights. This is one of the very first vehicles in America to have this ability where it can actually keep the high beams on but turn off individual portions of the light so that it doesn't blind oncoming traffic. That's giving you better visibility at night so they don't have to turn them off completely. We did experience that. It's pretty cool, and we're going to have an upcoming night review where we kind of demonstrate that and talk more about the rest of the vehicle's lighting. Now, up here in the front, we also have a lot of ground clearance as well. Rivian is an adventurous brand, so we have over 8 inches of standard ground clearance, and this can actually go up to 14.7 inches of ground clearance. Plus, with our all-terrain package, we have underbody protection. And then moving around to the back, it continues with a pretty boxy look.
Yeah, I really love the way this R1S looks, and let's go ahead and break down some of the design elements. There have been some changes for this 2025 model. So as you can see, we have some blacked out elements through here, a rear wiper, and then our taillights are, of course, going to be very premium. This is a flagship SUV after all. So we have an LED brake light, LED turn signal indicator. Our reverse light is down here, and that's also going to be LED. And all of our badging is going to be blacked out because that is now standard here on the tri-motor model. Now, as we drop down to the lower area, we do have a tow rating for this. It tows 7,700 pounds.
Moving on to the wheels, you've got some updated designs for 2025 at 20 or 22 inch sizes. We have the Adventure package, so that's going to give us the 20-inch alloy wheels, and critically, what's wrapped around them are these meaty all-terrain tires. You've got the yellow brake calipers right there. And then as we move on up here to the mirrors, of course, these are fully loaded with all the features you expect, including heating, blind spot monitoring, power folding, and auto dimming on both sides.
Now, at the side of the R1S, this, of course, is a flagship 3-row luxury SUV, so it's quite large. Over 200 inches is the vehicle length. That does mean it's going to be less than something like an Escalade IQ, very much similar to something like a Volvo EX90, though. And as far as some of the design touches, I'm really happy to tell you that we have a two-tone blacked-out roof. I think that looks really fantastic. And as far as your safety systems are concerned, Rivian is going to include all 4 of your active safety features as standard equipment, regardless of which model you choose. Additionally, they have an enhanced highway assist function that will be rolling out in 2025, which is supposed to add hands-free ability. But guys, there are some improvements on the inside as well that we can't wait to dive into. But first, if you're new here, we're brothers and we've been reviewing cars since we were 12
and 16. We started young, and since then we've reviewed over 2,000 cars at every price point.
No matter what you're looking for, from sound level readings to cargo measurements, we'd love for you to subscribe to be a part of our Car Confections family.
Let's learn a lot and have some fun with all the latest cars. All right, now let's move to the interior. First, we'll look at the key card. This is included with your vehicle, but you also, most importantly, have phone as key. So you just install the app on your phone. When you walk up to the vehicle, it'll go ahead and sense your approach. And you can see the lights kind of turn on, the mirrors will go ahead and fold out, and the handle will pop open. This has been mostly reliable, although we've had a couple instances this week where it has failed and we needed to fall back on this. All right, now taking a look inside this interior, obviously we've got just a stunning and very beautiful look here. And let's talk a little bit about some details of what you have. So there's no real leather inside of this cabin. The seats are going to be a leatherette. That being said, they are very, very realistic feeling and just a gorgeous design here with the stitching details running throughout. You got Rivian branding up there, more details with the piping in the headrest. This is known as Black Mountain, and we've got a natural ash wood, but you also have some other themes that you can choose from as well, just depending on the vibe that you want. Obviously, the seats themselves are going to be power adjusting with 4-way lumbar support. Memory is going to be inside of the display. But let's go ahead and get inside. And now that I've climbed inside, let's talk about the rest of the cab materials. Now, like I already said, they are beautiful. And once you start actually touching around, you're going to see that there's just really high quality here inside of this cabin. We've got leatherette all through here. You're going to notice that beautiful open pore wood that runs all throughout there. Even have the leatherette down on your lower panels and real metal speaker grills. Moving to the upper part, more of that going on. Beautiful wood trim. It's kind of etched in there with Rivian branding. It lights up at night. Just very, very rough and natural feeling. It really goes with the overall theme of the vehicle. And just everything you touch inside this cabin feels very quality and well put together. Now let's go ahead and fire it up. As you saw, there's no conventional push button start. You just put your foot on the brake. That's what fires it up. And let's take a look first of all at our gauge cluster. We've got the 12.3-inch full digital cluster. Beautiful graphics on board. It is reconfigurable with a few different kinds of information. But be aware you cannot get a head-up display, which obviously a lot of the competition in this segment would have. Now, pulling back to the steering wheel. Nice design here, flat bottom look. The beautiful open pore wood is actually integrated inside of that, as well as leatherette on the airbag cover. The wheel itself is power, tilt, and telescoping. It's controlled inside of the display. Now, of course, being an electric product means that you can really package things nicely. You've got a lot of options, and they have taken advantage of that with this model. So first of all, inside of our center console here, you're going to notice we've got some donuts inside. We have a lot of donuts. We have 14 donuts to be exact, and that is going to obviously pass our dozen donut test. That's quite good, and there's a lot more storage in addition to that. So in front of that, you're going to find a nice area here. This is actually a wireless phone charging pad on both sides, so you can charge simultaneously. It doesn't slow it down either. And then you got this just gigantic cubby going on through here where you can stick just about anything. One thing, though, to be aware of is the fact that you don't have a traditional glove box. You just have that storage in the door trims. Now that we're in this area, there's a couple things I want to mention. First of all, if you're wondering where are the cup holders, they pop out like so when needed. There's also the ability to kind of take your adventure with you. So you can pop this out, and you have obviously this nice size portable speaker to go with you on your adventures. You can also open up the door. If I reach over here and press this, I can pull out my flashlight, so we can just grab my speaker and my flashlight, and I can go straight to camping if I want to. Now that I put that back into its slot, of course, the storage comes by the fact that we have an electronic column-mounted shifter. Nothing to get in the way, so when you go into reverse, you're going to see this really beautiful 360-degree camera system. It is so crystal clear. I love how great the resolution is. There's actually 11 different cameras that you can choose from, and of course you can activate this when you're off-roading as well. Now, really a lot of the rest of the interior is going to be located inside of this giant 15.6-inch display. So in terms of what's like new for 2025, you've got kind of different menu structure, better graphics overall. And before we kind of get into those specific things, we'll just like work our way through some of the individual features. The first thing I want to talk about is the climate control. So I can pop that on. That's obviously going to be located down here in the display with your basic temperature stuff. And then you can pop out the more detailed menu where you can turn on things like your heated steering wheel, your pet mode, things like that. Do be aware the vents don't have any traditional grabs, so you will have to actually take your hand and point the vents based on that. But they do have some presets. And by the way, this is a quad zone automatic setup, so you can actually make those adjustments for the back as well. And you can see that really cool visualization of the layout. Now also down at the bottom, you're going to find your controls for your heated and ventilated seats. Both those things are standard equipment. That's your heated steering wheel as well. And then as you kind of move across, you got some shortcuts. You also have a slider here for the audio system, or you can adjust it on the steering wheel. Now what we have on this tri-motor is an 18-speaker Rivian premium audio system, and we'll go ahead and give that a sample right now. So overall with this sound quality, it is a pretty good sounding sound system. However, this price point really puts it in comparison against some really, really nice sounding sound systems. And I have to say, over this week, we've been disappointed with it. You know, like I said, compared to those rivals, which are offering some really high-end systems, this one definitely comes across as a little bit flat and a little bit lower end than what you get in the competition. Now, let's dig into some of the things inside of this display. Now, first of all, this is going to be a lot. When you first get this vehicle, there's just a lot of buttons, a lot of menus. We did find it a little bit difficult to get used to because it's not really like anything else on the market. Well, except for Tesla, that is. Now, inside of here, you're going to have your built-in navigation system. I think the critical thing to point out is that you do not have Android Auto or Apple CarPlay, so you will have to engage with this system every time you're inside of the vehicle. Over here is where you're going to have some menus for activating drive modes. You can change all these different things in terms of your region, your ride height, how the ride feels, and you have a lot of off-road menus as well if you're choosing to do that. Most of your car functions are located inside of that little pop down, and then you also have some built-in applications such as Spotify if you use that. Up top, we've got an auto dimming mirror. Headliner has a nice suede material, and then when you look at the roof here, you're going to notice a very large piece of glass. There's actually a second piece of glass over the third row as well, and one of the cool features that this has is even though you don't have a sunshade, you can actually dim it. So if you press that, that's actually going to cut down on a lot of the light and kind of make it a little bit darker.
All right, but let's talk about this rear seat area in the R1S. This, of course, is a 3-row SUV, so we need to talk about the practicality aspects. Let's talk first about space. 36.6 inches of legroom, 39.6 inches of headroom. Those are very good headroom figures. The legroom figures for this segment are going to be on the smaller side. So depending on what you are cross-shopping this with, there are a lot of competitors you may be looking at. Depends on electric versus gas space, but things like an Escalade will be quite a bit larger. Things like a Volvo EX90, it would be pretty similar too. Now, we brought our official Car Confections ruler along because I'm 5'9". This seat is adjusted to Drew, who is 5'8", and we can see how much additional knee room we have. In this R1S, we're looking at about 7 inches of knee space, and my feet can partially slide up underneath of the seat. Now, these seats do slide forward and back. I'm happy that they slide a really good distance, and they also have the ability to recline as well, although it's not a ton. Now, I want to point out, captain's chairs are not available on the R1S, so it will just be this seating configuration with 3 here in the second row, 2 in the third row, and 2 up front. So that means your overall seating capacity is 7 passenger. And then folding down our center armrest, we do have 2 cup holders inside, a nice padded armrest portion. And we're not done yet with features because we actually have quite a lot of features, and that's all going to be controlled in this main infotainment screen here in the back. We have our vents up top, and then in here we have several different functions. We can turn on some lights, we can lock and unlock the door, we can even do some audio controls. And then over here on the side, this is where you access your heated back seats. Those are standard equipment on every single R1S. You even have the controls for the heated third row as well. Now, below that we have 2 USB-C ports, and then we have a nice leather wrapping all through here, which is quite nice. As far as other features, you have USB ports integrated into the seat backs, and I just really love the overall design of these seats. It looks really beautiful, especially with this different color cloth material and the wood trim. Now, if you look over on your door trim, no rear window sunshades, but we have leather pretty much from top to bottom. It is really quite nice. Wood trim all through the entire door area, including a large door pocket. The only thing that's not going to be leather wrapped is this door grab, which I have noticed creaks a little bit this week. Now let's go ahead and check out the third row. In order to get back here, Rivian has made it relatively easy. You just press this button right here. That's actually going to kind of electronically slide the seat forward. And let's go ahead and check out the third row itself. Not bad. So what we're sitting at in terms of legroom figures is about 32 inches of legroom, about 38 inches of headroom. So overall, it's certainly not a terrible third row in terms of space. The seat is slid all the way back, and I don't have any additional knee room, but my feet can slide up underneath of the seat. Perhaps more importantly, though, the thigh support is certainly a little bit lacking for someone who's 5'9" like myself. There's not a ton. I wish it was a little bit higher off the ground. Now, we do still have that beautiful Rivian seat design back here. There are only 2 seats. And then as far as features are concerned, we have a cup holder, a nice leatherette padded armrest, and then you can even open this armrest up. There we go. And then there's additional storage as well as a USB port, and this storage is actually really quite deep. Vents are going to come out of the pillar here, and then of course we have our own moonroof, which is really quite nice. Overall, as far as how this ranks on the third row rating scale, I'm going to say this is fit for the in-laws. Now, walking up to the tailgate, it is a split opening tailgate, which I'm pretty happy to tell you because that's really great for tailgating and camping and those types of things. We've seen that on things like a Lexus LX as well as BMW X5. And then as far as the cargo space that you're going to find here in the R1S, it's a good amount of space. Overall, it's going to be sitting at 17.6 cubic feet behind the third row of seats, 47 cubic feet behind the second row, and as a maximum, about 104 cubic feet. So those are really good figures. Now, let's go ahead and talk about how to fold the third row. So this is going to be a manual folding third row. That is something I'm very disappointed in, especially in a over $100,000 SUV. So you do have to reach up here, fold it down. Granted, it's not the most difficult thing ever. However, if you're going to be on the shorter side, it's going to be very difficult if you have this lower down. Now you have buttons over here on the side that will electronically fold the second row of seats down. So that does make that a little bit easier to give you that full 104 cubic feet of space. Now, if you're curious as to how that compares to some of the rivals, it's actually going to be a very good space figure overall. It's not even that much behind an Escalade IQ. Now, let's go ahead and get our cargo length, width, and height figures. That's something we do in all of our Car Confections reviews. From behind Drew's 5'8" driving position to the end of the cargo department, 88 inches of overall length. From behind the second row of seats, about 50 inches of length. Behind the third row, 19 inches. Overall, width is 45 inches, and then height is going to be sitting a little over 30 inches, although do keep in mind you have a little bit of a hump there for the third row. Now, underneath of the floor, we have some additional space and storage solutions. we also have a spare tire that's going to be included here on this Adventure model. That's going to give you the compact spare tire integrated underneath of the floor here. And then also part of that package, we have an air compressor, so you can do that natively inside of your vehicle. And then we also have a household outlet and 12-volt outlet as well. Now, I will point out that this is not going to be dampened or power, so you're going to have to lift that up every single time. And then as far as overall lift-in height with the standard suspension setting, that's going to be a little over 30 inches. Well, guys, here we are behind the wheel of the R1S Tri. We cannot wait to show you all of the performance this model has, as well as get things like our sound level reading and discuss our real-world efficiency after living with it this week. But first, we need to go ahead and start with that hard acceleration. Oh! Whew.
Yeah, so if you're wondering what 850 horsepower and over 1,000 pound-feet of torque look like, that's it right there. This is this is a very, very, very fast luxury SUV.
That honestly kind of hurt a little bit. That is a brutally quick acceleration. Now, it does go 0 to 60 in under 3 seconds, which hardly makes sense out of a big 3-row SUV. It's over 200 inches long, but to go 0 to 60 in under 3 seconds is incredibly impressive. Certainly it'll be something that you can show your friends. I think they'll be impressed with this model.
Yeah, for sure. Now, you don't have to get this much power if you don't need it or want it. You have, of course, the option of several different powertrain varieties. Dual motor, all-wheel drive, one that's more powerful and still has dual motors. This is the new tri-motor, as we were talking about at the spec dump. And eventually there's going to be a quad motor if you are loco and you still think this is too slow.
Yeah, if you get in this and you're unimpressed, there will be a quad motor model coming soon. Now, let me go ahead and hit those other two versions. So the price does drop drastically if you choose some of the less performance-oriented models. The dual motor all-wheel drive, what they call standard, has 533 horsepower, 610 pound-feet of torque, 0 to 60 still 4.5 seconds. So that certainly fits the bill for 95% of you guys that will be watching this. That's going to seem very fast to you. Now, they also have the performance upgrade model that has 665 horsepower, 829 pound-feet of torque. That goes 0 to 60 in 3.4 seconds and costs an additional $5,000. Then you end in this tri-motor for now, quad motor later on.
Now, in addition to your 3 different motor configurations, you also have 3 different battery size options as well. This is the Max Pack, so this is going to be your biggest option. It's about 141 kilowatt hours, so it's pretty big, but not ultra big like you get in, say, like a Hummer or an Escalade IQ or something like that. But it does deliver really fantastic range because of the fact this is a very efficient 3-row luxury SUV.
Yeah, so what is the range on the tri-motor? Well, it's 371 miles. If you choose the Adventure package, that does negatively affect your range, so keep that in mind. That's what we have today. Now, you can get up to 410 miles if you choose a dual motor with the Max Pack. And then all the other ones are going to fall somewhere within those ranges. On the very base end, you have 270 miles of range. All right, but we are cruising down the highway portion, and now I think is a great time for us to discuss overall ride quality in the Rivian R1S. Now, this is an area where Rivian said they really spent a lot of time was to, kind of tune this a little differently. It does have a full air suspension, and I have to say, I think they've made some pretty significant improvements in this area. That was one of the things I was not a fan of in the 2023 model that we tested out, was the ride quality. It was a little bit on the rough side for sure. I think they've smoothed it out quite a bit. However, it's still not quite to the level of some of the other flagship luxury Three rows you could be looking at Cadillac Escalade, Range Rovers. Those types of products will still have much smoother ride quality. It's also worth noting that depending on what package you choose, that will affect this as well. So we have the 20-inch wheels on the outside, which should give us pretty good ride, and I've found it to be pretty compliant this week. However, if you choose for the 22s, I would imagine that your ride quality is going to be a little bit worse than what we've seen today.
And since this has adaptive dampers and an adjustable air suspension, you have these menus here where you can actually change the firmness of the ride. It's pretty cool. So right now it's in the soft feel. You have a medium and then a firm, and it really does make a noticeable difference in terms of both the ride quality and just the overall stability and handling of the vehicle. It's definitely one of those things where it's not just a name only. It does make a real difference.
And now it's time for us to get our sound level reading in the R1S. Now, there is no way to actually put it on fan speed 1, so in order to be fair, I'm just going to turn it off, and then I'll get you maybe one with it in the Auto 1 level as well. Okay, so 56.5 before we had to slow down there was with the climate completely off. And then for those of you that are curious, we have it on the lowest setting. We'll go ahead and get that reading as well. Sitting at very similar numbers, about 56 decibels is what you can expect to hear inside of this R1S's cabin. Now, I don't have to sit here and guess how it compares to other luxury three rows. We can find that at carconfections.com/sound level readings. Now, once again, it is going to depend on what you are comparing this to, but if you're comparing it to other gasoline, large, full-size SUVs, that is going to be a little bit on the louder side when it comes to sound level reading. I think a lot of that does have to do with the all-terrain tires on the outside. That was one of the very first things I noticed when I got behind the wheel of this, is because we have that adventure package, it has quite a lot of tire howl, making it into the cabin. So I think it'd be a lot quieter if you selected a different package.
Now, kind of going around that corner, as you mentioned, this is not really the spec you would choose if you really want to do a lot of performance on-road driving, but it is reasonably athletic. It definitely, when you put it in the firm mode, maintains pretty good body control overall, and the steering has a nice feel to it. Wow, that is just crazy fast out of something so big.
Oh my goodness. All right, let's get into our slam dunk and airball. Drew, why don't you go ahead and kick us off with the slam dunk?
So the slam dunk is going to be the overall refinement of this vehicle. They've done, I think, a great job, especially for a very young company, at creating just a phenomenal luxury environment.
Yeah. Now, on the airball side of things, that has a little bit of an asterisk to it. Depends on what you compare it to, and especially when we're talking about this tri-motor model that's $113,000. I become very discerning. That is my job, to be very discerning about things, and certain details inside of here are not as nice as some of those other rivals that you could be looking at. Escalade, Range Rover, other flagship options. Those things will have the details sorted out, and things like the audio system really just disappoint me, especially at that price point. No massaging seats, things like that really become a problem at the well over $113,000 price point. And lastly here, you might be concerned about our real-world efficiency with this R1S. Now, I think we've been getting pretty good efficiency this week, considering, it's a tri-motor model, so we've had a little bit of fun with it as well. We're sitting at 1.87 miles per kilowatt hour, so not a terrible efficiency at all. And like Drew said at the beginning of this, the battery pack size is smaller than a lot of its rivals, such as like the Escalade IQ, by a significant portion, yet it can still go up over 400 miles on a single charge, and the reason for that is because this is an efficient package overall.
And we like to wrap up our 7-day review by saying if we like it the same, better, or worse than we did going into it. And this one we're going to stay the same. We were already very impressed with our previous experience. And this one here, they've added a few little refinements, but overall it really has the same kind of feel to it.
And let's talk about pricing for the R1S. Like I said at the very beginning, we started around $75,000 for the dual standard version. Now, there are several different models, the dual large model, the dual max, the tri-motor. This is the fully loaded example. As of now, the tri-motor, $105,900 is your starting price. Now, if you want the adventure package and all the options that we've selected with the paint color, we're sitting at around $113,000. Now, if you're looking to buy a Rivian R1S or any new vehicle, we would encourage you to go to carconfections.com/newcarquotes. The reason you do that is because we have a tool on our website that will connect you with local car dealers in your area to get you the best price. It's also going to give you access to invoice pricing information, which is a great tool for dealership negotiation. It can help dealers start to compete on pricing. If you'd like to take advantage of that, a link is provided in our video description, and we also have a pinned comment at the top of this video. But buying a vehicle is about more than just the original MSRP, so let's dive into resale and reliability. First up, let's talk about resale value. As an economics graduate myself, Drew and I took the time to develop what we think is a good estimate for this Rivian R1S's potential resale value. Now, unfortunately, Rivian is a new brand overall, so overall resale value data is not fully available just yet. Rivian's, like I said, very new brand, so some of that information is a little incomplete at this current point in time. However, I would expect it to be similar to maybe some other electric car brands, such as Tesla. So if you like a good reference point, maybe check that out.
Yeah, and the same is going to go for reliability as well.
Now, if you'd like to learn about all of our reliability and resale information for other brands, be sure to go to carconfections.com/resale and carconfections.com/reliability. Buying a new vehicle is a very big decision, so you want to make sure you're making a smart purchase, especially if you're cross-shopping between different vehicle brands. Now, as far as Rivian's warranty, they do have a pretty good one, a basic warranty of 5 years and 60,000 miles, a drivetrain and battery warranty of 8 years and 175,000 miles. And guys, that's going to wrap up our in-depth 7-day review of this 2025 Rivian R1S. Now, if you enjoyed watching this video or found it helpful in your purchasing decisions, which we hope you did, we'd really appreciate it if you hit that subscribe button down below. By subscribing, you're going to help us to get more cars like this down here for a full week so we can extensively test them out. And you're also going to be a part of our Car Confections family. We have a lot of fun on this channel, and I promise you won't want to miss out. We'll catch you next time as we sample more of the latest automotive delicacies.